You know how big a week this is?
Huge week.
It's big enough that we're here early on a Monday morning trying to shoot this thing.
You have a hat on.
Well,
this is a first.
That's all right.
This is a first.
Fashion statement.
It is a fashion statement. It's a good one too.
When you got a big day of baseball coming up, you got to come in early and do a little preview.
That's right. So, it's a huge day, huge week overall. There are a lot of other things going. Not a lot, but there's a few other things going on as well. So,
and the things that are going on are deep into the postseason.
They are.
So, we'll talk a lot about baseball because that's kind of on everybody's minds here in Janesville. But state softball, some sectional soccer, and
Muhammad Ali.
Maybe dip into some NBA finals. That's been a bit of a
man. That was ugly last night.
Bit of junk so far, man. But maybe we'll look at ourselves a series. So we'll tackle all that on this week's early edition of Extra Points. Hey everybody, welcome back. Eric Schmoldt here with John Barry. And we're here for, in the elections, they have Super Tuesday.
Yep.
I call this Super Tuesday for us because it's sectional baseball time here. And we get 3 games in one day at every sectional around the state.
We got to get somebody into state, don't we? Somebody's got to get through.
Well, we got chances.
I know.
And that's kind of what we're here to. We're doing this early show so we can preview the baseball matchups a little bit. So we might as well just dive right into it.
All right,
and
let's dive into it.
Obviously, the talk of Janesville is the Beloit Memorial Sectional, which comes Tuesday. Games at 11, 2 and 5.
Yep.
And the big one at 11, Janesville Craig versus Janesville Parker. And then Verona against Madison West with the winners playing at 5 with a trip to state on the line.
Yep.
And, it's become almost, we expect Parker and Craig to be in sectionals.
Yeah, we do.
It's been that way the last few years at least. And
we're looking for the 3rd year in a row to get a Janesville team to state.
And for the second time in 3 years, they play in this first meeting at the sectionals. And it obviously means we're going to have somebody in the sectional final no matter what.
Yep.
But it also means a third crosstown rivalry matchup of the season, and usually gets everybody going.
Well, and let's face it, the last game was extra innings. Parker had the lead. Craig won the first time. I think certainly when you look at it, you got to favor Craig just because of their lineup. They're much more balanced, a lot deeper lineup, 1 through 9 than Parker is. But I think the wild card is Hunter Van Zant. And Hunter, according to Brian Martin, the Parker's coach, kind of looks like the Hunter Van Zant of old in the last month or so.
Right.
And if he's dialed in, for one thing, I think Craig's strength right now is their team speed. And as being a left-hander with a pretty good move to first, Hunter kind of negates that running game a little bit. So, again, I think on paper, Craig's a better team. I mean, they're 23-2. I mean, obviously, Big Eight champs.
The number 1 seed and the Big Eight champs.
And they're the defending state champs. So, but again, the blue and white of Craig seems to bring out the best in Hunter Van Zant. And
this is it's like his one.
This is his swan song, maybe. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a good game. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. Evan Spry obviously will go for Craig.
I don't know.
Well, that's true.
I don't know.
That's true.
I don't know if it's that obvious.
Yeah, that is maybe not that obvious. And I think Verona's in the same boat. Do they save Keaton Knippel, thinking that they're going to play Craig in that championship game, that they can beat West without him? But we've seen that strategy backfire. It backfired for Kenosha Indian Trail last week. It backfired for Stoughton 2 years ago. You got to dance with who brought you. And if they're not going to do that and they save them and they get behind or they lose, you're sitting there with your ace that hasn't thrown it all.
I want to get back to this because I don't think it's an obvious choice. I think that it's obviously Evan Spry's been the best pitcher, and they didn't go with him last time, and it almost burned him.
Right.
They kind of tried to shift things around a little bit, maybe got overthought it a little too much. However, Chase Nyborg is back in the mix now, a lefty, also a senior, who I would think would be pretty dialed in for his last time to go against Parker. So I don't think it'd be out of the question if they decided to give Nyborg the ball and see what he can do against Parker and save Spry for potentially a game against Verona or West.
And I would agree. I guess my only disconcerting thing for that would be that, Spry's been there this year, and Chase, he's had one start, 2 starts maybe.
I think, yep.
And, I think maybe Chase would be better off not having to face the crosstown rival and not having, maybe as much pressure and just come back in that second game against probably Verona. And then, if he throws like he did at state last year, the Cougars are going to go back to state. And I think you're right, though. I think it'll be interesting. And I think, the the thing with Spry is he keeps them in games because he just pounds the strike zone, and they know if they get to the 5th or 6th inning, they got Jack Blomgren to come in relief. I think Hunter Van Zandt is going to be on an island. I don't think he's going to have a pitch count. I don't think he's going to have anything unless things just get out of hand. But, he's going to be there, regardless. And that could be very easily a 3-2 game, a 2-1 game. Of course, by the time we say that, it'll be like 10-5 or 9-4 or something like that. But, I think the winner of that game, certainly if Verona does throw Knipple, the winner of the Parker-Craig game has got a very, very good chance of moving on because, with Jordan Bailey back in the mix for Parker, does he go in game 2 or do you go with Mr. Reliable Riley Grover? I mean, that's a tough call, and Craig's got plenty of options. They got Nyborg, Kramer, Dunham. I mean, they've got plenty of kids that can get them there. And I think when you look at it, especially with Craig, they just got a better lineup than Verona or West. I mean, so I think if I had to guess, I would say Craig comes out of that sectional and gets a chance to defend their title. But
I'm not going to be shocked.
I'm not going to be stunned if Hunter Van Zandt comes out and throws a 3-hitter and knocks Craig out either. So it's going to be interesting. Sounds like it's going to be a great day, and looking forward to it.
All those games down at Pohlman Field, so that's kind of cool to play down there.
It is. I mean, it's well manicured. It's well taken care of. You'll get true hops, and it's not going to be a problem. You won't see a lot of bad hop singles, or you won't see any, I guess poor playing conditions come into play at all.
You think we get a Janesville team through?
I do. I think Craig's back. I think Craig goes back simply because they're the best team.
It would be fun 3 straight years.
It would be. And
baseball, we've said it before, but even probably 2 years ago, but if you don't think baseball's back here in Janesville, you've had your eyes closed for a while.
Have. And, let's face it, you talked about a little bit earlier about the state track meet and what a mob scene it is, so to speak. State baseball's fun to cover. I mean, it's a great venue. It's fun to cover, and I'm hoping they get there. One of the 2 Janesville teams get there, and if not one of those 2, then we'll talk about it next. Hopefully, Whitewater Evansville can sneak through.
Hopefully, we'll have a different area team, or maybe we could have 2 teams.
We could. That'd be great.
That's the other sectional around here. It's over in Monroe, and in the first game we got Dodgeville and Lodi. That's at 10. They're playing at 10, 1, and 4 in Monroe.
Right.
And then the 1 o'clock game. Pair of Rock Valley North Conference rivals that split during the regular season get to go for a little rubber match, Whitewater and Evansville. And a couple of teams that I don't think going into the season we would have said, I think they're probably going to be at sectionals. But they both played. Whitewater played very well during the regular season. Evansville lost quite a few really close games early on, but they played really well as of late, and I think they both earned their spot here.
Well, in Evansville, I mean, I think you and I both thought that Whitewater Delavan, had a chance to get through the sectional. Certainly Martin Luther was the 1 seed, and Delavan upset them. But I think on the other side, we all thought Turner would probably roll into that sectional just because they came in on about a 16-game winning streak, and they had beaten Evansville 11-1 in their only meeting. And so you take an 8-5 lead into the top of the 7th with your closer on the mound, and you look up and they scored 8 runs. And I was stunned. I mean, I'm following along on Twitter going, are you kidding me? What? Huh? What's going on here? And then Turner made a run, got it to within 3, I think, in the bottom of the inning.
The old 13-11 regional final.
I mean, and I think had tying runs on base or something. But, Brian Kishore is a great coach. He's been on that program a long time. And, that's why you play to the final out, and they did. And, we're going to have one of those 2 teams in the sectional final, probably against a very, very good Lodi team, which, again, Lodi's kind of like Craig. They'll be a prohibitive favorite in that sectional, but you still got to win 2 games.
You got to get it done.
Yeah,
I was talking to Sean Davis, who went to Craig and now works up in Portage, and he covers that Lodi team, and he says they've got a lot of seniors, which is something. The Whitewater team is a little more veteran.
Yep, they are.
The Evansville team is very young, so maybe they go in with saying we got nothing to lose.
And you do. That's the attitude you got to have, and I'm sure that's what Brian Kishore will beat into their heads is, hey, guys, let's just go out and play. I mean, we get down. We've proven we can come back. Let's just go and play and, see what happens.
I think Whitewater's gotten here on very good defense for most of the year, and their pitching in the tournament has been very good.
Yeah.
They've had these low-scoring games. They obviously beat Delavan-Darien, which had been on a pretty good offensive run with Jake Benson kind of leading the way.
Yeah.
and they win 3-1 in the regional final. They've shown that they've got the pitching and the defense to kind of keep it a low scoring game in those situations. Then if you scrape across a couple of runs with guys like Bryce Paris and Julian Son,
guys that can produce, and they produced all year. And I got a chance to see Whitewater play a couple of times, and pretty solid defensively. Their pitching's been good, and again, they're one of those teams, kind of like a Janesville Parker, is they've got to get kids to produce in the bottom of the order. That's going to have to be the key for them if they're going to move on and get into a couple of games tomorrow, because I think 1 through 4, 1 through 5 with Whitewater is pretty solid.
I actually got to see Evansville versus Whitewater in one of the games, and it was I would guess it was one of Whitewater's worst defensive games of the year, and they lost, but they came back and beat Evansville, I think 2-1 or 3-1 the second time around. So
interesting.
Rubber match.
It's going to be interesting. Like I say, it's calling for a good day, and boy, if you love baseball and you're looking for something to do, head down to Beloit or head to Monroe, because you're going to get a chance to see 3 games, and who knows, maybe 2 area teams punching their ticket to Grand Chute.
It's nice to know going in. I mean, we're going to have somebody in these sectional finals
both games.
And those, sectional finals are almost as big as state. Everyone knows what's on the line, and those can be some.
And if you can't,
events.
if you see this before tomorrow and you don't get a chance to at least get down to Beloit, both Janesville games will be carried live on CLO, so you'll get a chance to listen if you can't make it down.
Yeah, 12:30 a.m. or WCLO.com
you can stream.
Yes. So that'll be good. That's what's on our minds and why we're here earlier in the week, but we got plenty coming up later in the week as well. Thursday, Delavan-Darien softball team makes its first trip to state, and the Comets they've been pretty dialed in through this postseason run, and I think they got a chance to make some real noise in Madison, because on the other side of the bracket, I got to try to remember, Northwestern, South Shore,
Northwestern's playing 24-6.
They came through. Everybody kind of expected La Crosse Logan to come out of there, and they didn't. And so now that shook up the bracket a little bit. I think the Comets have a chance to make some noise, even though it's their first ever trip to state.
Let's look at their losses. 6 losses. I think Delavan's 24-6, something like that. 2 to Union Grove. They're the number 1 team in the state. They're at state. Westosha Central, who lost to Union Grove in the sectional final. That's 4.
They were number 1
They were number 1 at one time.
No, going into that, they were number 1. Union Grove was number 2.
Burlington.
Yeah.
And
I think 1 to Burlington, 1 to Wilmot.
Wilmot something. So, again, we've talked about all year, the Southern Lakes is far and away the best conference in the state from top to bottom.
Those 4 teams right there were the sectional teams from Division 1.
So this is a case where playing that brutal Division 1 schedule during the year has paid off, and the Comets are right where they, I think, thought they would be. And you and I both looked at the bracket and said, they can win this. There's no question. Jenna Speth is, we talked about her numbers the other day. They're crazy.
I started looking at them. It's like 230 strikeouts and 120 innings or something like that.
Well, and her batting is just as
crazy. 550 with like 12 home runs.
Usually when you get to college and she's going to Illinois, Chicago to pitch, usually pitchers don't hit. I got to find a place for her in the lineup. She's got to hit because she can flat out hit.
Well, and when she gets on base, she's a nightmare for catchers and pitchers. Yep. Everything, she knows how to play the darn game.
She does. She really does. And it'll be interesting because of the conference and because of those other 2 pitchers, the Union Grove and the Westosha pitcher. But she better at least get second team All-State because she's a special player.
And I think, and they've shown throughout that lineup that they can hit the ball. And like you said, they've seen the best pitching, so they're not going to go in there intimidated. They've got Jada Speth leading off. She's been good all year. Caitlin Gonzalez will tell you she hasn't hit as well as maybe she has in the past, but
she seems to clutch up.
She had a big double the other day when they beat McFarland 9-0. She's going to be there. And then
Morgan
you got Jenna third, and if teams pitch around Jenna Speth, then they get to Morgan Delara, and she made McFarland pay with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs the other day. So, especially at the top of that lineup, you don't want to face anybody.
No, you don't. And the thing is if Delavan gets a few runs, I can guarantee you South Shore Northwestern has not seen a Jenna Speth all year. I would be surprised if they've seen anybody that throws with her velocity. And really, this is, I think, a big advantage for Delavan to be playing, to play in the Southern Lakes all season and then drop down a division. And I would not be surprised at all if the Comets came out of there with a gold ball.
That'll be Thursday night, 6:00 for the semifinal. And if and when they win, they would play at 3:00 on Saturday in the final. So
another great venue, Goodman Field up in Madison, where the state tournament's held, is a fantastic. The Goodman brothers that used to have the jewelry store in Madison funded that whole thing, and the Badger softball team plays there. It's a great complex. It's located kind of near University Hospital, and again, Thursday night, get up there. I mean, it's you'd be surprised at how exciting and how fun it is to watch really good softball.
We will cross our fingers for good weather, because otherwise that becomes a nightmare.
Oh, then it is a nightmare. Yes.
Also on Thursday, we've got a couple soccer teams playing.
We do.
Bigfoot Williams Bay will go to Catholic Memorial. Catholic Memorial, I think, is one of the top-rated teams, if not the top-rated team. And they've
which sport?
This is girls soccer.
No, but which sport are they? Because they're top ranked in everything.
I see what you're saying there, and I think they've rolled through the tournament so far. They're like 18-0 on goals. Yeah. So.
But hey, I mean, Bigfoot's a good program. Bigfoot Williams Bay has been a good program for a number of years, and sometimes when you overlook teams and they're a little bit better than you thought, and we talked about it last week, you let teams hang around and don't put them away, strange things can happen, and Beloit Turner found that out last week in baseball.
Yeah, you never know. And then in the D2 bracket, Milton coming up at the 2-1
victory Redhawks
at Elkhorn on Saturday.
Great win for Milton.
And now they go to top-seeded Burlington at 7:00
7:00
on Thursday
in Burlington,
night.
And Burlington's very good. I mean, it's they've been good for years. You and I both thought that Elkhorn, the second time they played them, would be close, and they handled Elkhorn pretty easily. But Milton can score, and Milton's got some good kids that can put the ball in the net. And it's a case where you don't want to get down early, because it'll take Milton away from their game plan, and that's to rush and get upfield and try to create as many scoring opportunities. But again, it's just I think that game's gonna hinge on Milton's defense. Can they keep Burlington from setting the tempo and keeping that tempo, or can they dictate some of that on their own and hopefully get enough shots on goal?
Yeah, Burlington has dominated the Southern Lakes, and Elkhorn tied them during the regular season, but lost, I think, 6-1 and 6-1 or 6-0,
something like that. Yeah,
in the tournament.
We were both a little surprised by that,
because that was Elkhorn's only loss until they lost to Milton on Saturday.
And I really, from everything I've read or tweeting, sound like it's pretty physical. Like a lot of some disgruntled players and fans and coaches. I don't know if it was officiating, I don't know, or just the fact that what was at stake, but it sounded like it got a little chippy, and that's okay. It's tournament soccer. That's going to happen.
That was kind of the way that Elkhorn's defenders like to defend as well, and try to take some of those top scores out of it. So that probably played into it a little bit.
Right.
We'll see. Sectional finals then would be Saturday.
Yep.
So we'll see if we can get anybody through to that. Anything else? We got the state golf going on right now.
State golf's going on right now.
Badgers up there.
Badgers up there. I would think a good chance. Probably not a top 3 team, but I would think a chance to finish in the top 5 or 6. And the Ridge, they're getting ready for the senior tournament next month, or later this month actually, and it's a great course. I mean, it's a great site to hold the state meet. Kids love playing there, and it's 2 days. Weather good today. It's supposed to be good tomorrow, and a lot of times, when the weather's good, the scores are low.
And we mentioned coming off of track, just send out some congrats to medalists from Janesville.
Great weekend for area kids.
Bree Porter and Julia Hartwig from Parker, and Dion Newson and the Janesville Craig 4x100 relay team. They all finished on the podium.
Yep, that's where you want to be.
Then we had a Bigfoot relay team that won and took second place. That's pretty good. And I thought kind of it was fun to talk to Ashlyn Oren from Edgerton on Saturday, a sophomore who. It's fun when you don't really know much about somebody, and you just find out a little bit in a few minutes.
And you just decide.
She says, I was probably going to play softball. I just decided to do track. And now, after her sophomore year, she's already got 5 medals.
Pretty good decision. Nothing against, she probably would have been a very good softball player too. But, it's neat when kids just, I'm going to try this. And lo and behold, oh, yeah, that's right. I got a couple of state medals out of it.
And you do. She can do a variety of different things. She runs the 100 and she runs in the 4x1, but then she does the long jump and the high jump. She does. And
those girls are all back.
A little bit of everything.
That's 400 relay team. They're all back next year. So
I think they went 4th last year, 2nd this year. So you never know.
No, and it's a lot of times when you're measuring yourself up against the rest of the state, especially when you look at the Milwaukee schools, in the sprints and the relays and stuff, really, especially in Division I, it can be difficult, and the Craig boys, they go out and set a school record in the 4x1 and still finish very good. Fifth or what was it? Sixth?
Sixth in the final.
Yeah, sixth
they set
in the final,
record in the prelims.
In the prelims, and you set a school record and still finish sixth. That's that's telling you how quick some of those teams are.
I think that's probably one of the things I took away as the first time I went up there is just how hard it is, especially in track and field, to win a state championship, and you're going up against, 20 of the best other competitors in your division, and you have to have your best day ever, pretty much, yeah, to beat all of them. And it's a little different than like a wrestling where you never know if somebody's going to have an upset and it turns the bracket on end. You're going up against everybody.
Everybody's there, yeah. Well, and the thing is that I think when I looked at it and typing in most of the Agate on Friday and Saturday is, not a lot of state records were set. I think there might have been 4 or 5, and I think the main one was the 4x4 relay team from Nicolay was like 3:15, that's moving. I mean, I know the Parker boys set the Big 8 record last year at 3:23, I think it was, and that's 8 seconds slower or faster. That's moving. I mean, you're talking some serious splits in probably 46, 47, something like that. So, it's crazy up there though, and you got a firsthand view in it. And like I said, when
the 7-1 high jump too was pretty
exactly, and when the weather comes in like it did up there, and they make you leave the stadium, the players or the coaches and the participants can go into the field house. The fans got nowhere to go. And when there's lightning and they make you leave the stadium, you got people going anywhere. I remember one year we went to a Craig kid's house that had gone to school at lacrosse just for somewhere to go because they made us leave the stadium. And it's crazy, but it's a hectic 2 days, but boy, certainly a productive one for area athletes.
Outside of the high school realm, as you mentioned in the opener, Muhammad Ali over the weekend passed away. Kind of a tough one for me because I never really got to see him fight. I've obviously watched a lot of things about him, and I remember him lighting the torch in the Olympics in '96 in Atlanta. But for me, a lot of his best years, I didn't get a chance to really see. I guess what do you take away?
Well, I think the biggest thing with Muhammad Ali is whether you loved him or hated him or didn't agree with his personal beliefs, and he was a draft dodger. But I think the thing with him is that he transcended really what showboating and I guess the whole analogy of what a sportsman is. I mean, he transcended it by claiming himself the greatest and proved to be. And I think with Muhammad, he was loved worldwide. He told a story one time of somebody had said something to him about, well, you're no more famous than Ronald Reagan. And Reagan was president at the time. And he said, look, if you go to Egypt, Ronald Reagan goes to Egypt with his pair of shorts on and a shirt, nobody recognizes him. If I do that, the whole country recognizes me. And I think that's where he was right. I mean, he was that loved worldwide where people knew him. I mean, it was kind of like, Tiger Woods in his heyday maybe, or Michael Jordan in his heyday. But, Ali set the bar for that. And, like I say, whether you loved him or hate him, you can't take away what he meant and what he did for sports and really for boxing at the time, because boxing now, you and I talked about it, we can't name many boxers now, but back when there was Ali and Norton and Frazier and George Foreman, I mean, that's back when boxing was still kind of king.
Definitely. That's, when it happened Saturday night, I flipped over to ESPN and they went on for hours without a commercial.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll tell you.
When you get Bob Lee on your 1 a.m. sportscast, it's a big deal because Bob Lee is probably been in bed for 3 hours. So pretty big deal.
That was kind of fun for me to learn even more about it. And I mean, I read and watched some stuff, but just wasn't around for it. And they did a pretty good job of trying to put you there. So that was,
and the thing is with YouTube now, you can go back and look at the Rumble in the Jungle or the Thriller in Manila. I mean, you can look at all those things on YouTube and there's a documentary called When We Were Kings. If you want to know everything about Muhammad Ali, watch that because it is very, very good. Very well done.
And we got the NBA Finals going on. Sort of.
Yeah.
They hasn't really been a game yet.
No.
Golden State with a couple of blowouts.
And the thing that bothers me the most is last night I turned it off, but Cleveland quit. They quit in about the middle of third quarter, and I'm sorry, you guys, you're getting paid way too much money, and to just quit and hang it up is, to me, is just wrong. And for that reason, I hope Golden State sweeps them. I hope it's done and over with.
We turned it off as well, but it's like LeBron, he just looked lost.
Lethargic, yeah.
Turnovers and air balls, and I don't know.
You know, when Draymond Green is scoring 30, when you got Thompson and Curry, there's nothing you can do. Their ball movement at times last night was just crazy good. And, you know, it just snowballs. And I think the 3-point line has made such a difference because you can take a 10-point lead in a matter of 2 or 3 possessions. You can hit 3 threes, and all of a sudden, 2-point leads in double digits.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. And Cleveland had no answer, and I don't know if they wanted an answer.
We'll see if they do back in Cleveland. It would be nice to see it be a series at least.
And it will. They'll win one of them. Like I said, I thought it would go 7. I don't think it's going to go 7 now, but
I took the Cavs.
You took the Cavs, so you better hope it goes at least 6.
That doesn't go well. We'll see. Hey, it's the NBA. We've seen weird things happen.
Yeah, but we didn't think when the Golden State would come back.
When the Thunder lost that game 1 to the Spurs by like 40 points, and then they came back and won the series. So it could happen.
It could.
We'll see. Hopefully we'll be back here. It would probably be another early one next week, or maybe we'll do it late this week.
Yeah,
we'll see. Because if we have a team at state baseball, it's Tuesday. So let's cross our fingers and hope we have. Hey, let's hope we have 2 teams there.
2 teams there. I agree.
We'll see. You'll find full coverage on GazetteXtra.com and in the Gazette over the next week of all these events. If you want to let us know what you think of the show, you can share it with your friends and leave us a comment on iTunes or Facebook or Gazette Extra, or send us an email at sports@gazetteextra.com, or definitely follow us on Twitter. We'll have a lot of updates over the next few days and kind of keep everybody posted if you're at work and can't make these baseball games. So thanks to Kevin McLeod for the tunes and Dave Vaughn for producing the early show and fitting us into his time schedule. And we'll see you back here soon.
Take care, everybody.